Welcome back to Broncos Country Tonight. Here are Ryan Edwards and Benjamin Albright.
All right, welcome back to Broncos Country Tonight, joined by NFL Network's James Palmer. James, how you hanging in there, man?
I'm good, guys. I've turned the basement bedroom into like a sports, interactive lair, which is, nice little break from the family, but I'd rather be out and about, but this is a pretty good second best.
Yeah, it's important, I've found, to be able to have spaces of the house that you can call your own, even for a small amount of time.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And this has become like my dude lair. Yeah.
I love that. Ben calls his the Bat Cave. So kind of similar concept.
The cowl are over here in the closet.
James, I'd love to ask you, kind of from a national football perspective, how is the Broncos free agency being viewed right now? The moves they were able to make. Melvin Gordon seems to be the one that everybody seems to highlight, but it seems like they made a lot of other moves.
Yeah, when you talk to people around the league, that's kind of the one that people ask about. Is that a little bit of a surprise? And you went out and you paid $8 million a year for Melvin Gordon when you already had Phillip Lindsay. When you listen to John Elway and Vic Fangio talk, you kind of see why they went out and made that move. But if you talk to people around the league, really the focus is on getting Graham Glasgow and helping out your offensive line, especially a guy that's versatile. A lot of people like that they went out and made this move because now it doesn't pigeonhole you specifically into certain guys in the draft. You can be able to be a little bit more flexible in how you do it. And then the late one that a lot of people are talking about is bringing back Shelby Harris. I mean, that is one that nobody saw coming. I, for one, did not believe he was coming back to the Denver Broncos. And now you look at a specific spot when he returns, and they got the steal in Jarrell Casey, which is funny because I was on a conference call with John Robinson yesterday, the GM for the Tennessee Titans, and he was asked repeatedly about that Casey trade. And he didn't really have an answer about why he traded Jarrell Casey to the Broncos for a 7th-round pick. More or less just said, well, we're looking to go a different direction and hopefully try to use that money in a different spot. But really, the beat guys there were wondering how the Broncos were able to pull this deal off. So now a defensive line that there were questions about, now that Shelby Harris comes back, I think that's now a strength of this team.
Now, Ben, where do you think ultimately the Broncos improved the most in free agency, and where do you still have questions?
Well, I think we still have a question on that center position. James mentioned the versatility of Glasgow, and he's played center before, but I think their preference is probably him at right guard. I think in a pinch, if they don't get the draft pick they want, you could move him to center, and Eli Wilkinson could play the right guard, but I think they want him at right guard. As far as the strength goes, James nailed it. That defensive line. I talked to Shelby the day before he came back, and he gave no indication that he was coming back at that point. It's just one of those circumstances where the market cratered on him after the Colts traded for Buckner and the Bengals signed Reeder. Market cratered, and he comes back to Denver on 25 cents on the dollar. I think if you're the Denver Broncos, you got to be ecstatic about having him, Jarrell Casey, Mike Purcell, Draymond Jones in the mix. I think that line is a strength.
Now, I want to have a conversation about, and this is, of course, pre-draft. We don't really know what they're going to ultimately come away with in the draft, but what do we expect the identity of this team to be? The Super Bowl champion team was a defensive-minded team, right? Of course, it was Peyton Manning still here, but we knew it was mostly about the defense. What is going to be the identity, James, of this Broncos team this year?
Well, if you look at the head coach and the way they played in the second half of the year defensively, you might want to think this is a team that can really take another jump in the second year under Vic Fangio. I think that's a big point that we need to remember, is that these guys were learning Vic's system, which can be complicated, and he is a defensive guru. And look at the way they played during that last handful of games. And as Ben and I are talking about it, they've gotten better, it looks like. You have Bradley Chubb returning. You have Vaughn Miller, who's going to be a motivated player looking for another contract. And then you put Jarrell Casey in the middle there. To me, I think this defense is the identity. But at the same time, everybody's going to have their eyes on, obviously, Drew Lock and the way he plays. But unless they get more weapons around him and they add some more pieces there, I think the identity still right now remains this defense. But everybody wants to see this kid go out and play and sling it. And that's the fun aspect. But when you really get down to the nitty-gritty of it, I think it's the other side of the ball.
You agree with that, Ben?
Yeah, I think right now the identity is definitely defensive side of the ball. It's what the Broncos are known for. It's where the money is. That's where the veteran leadership is on this team. I think that identity may shift over time. Youthful energy on the offensive side of the football. They add, I'm completely in the tank for them adding a Henry Ruggs and making this offense origin blur, baby. But we'll see how that shakes out.
Okay, so then let's talk a little bit more about the offense. I think we all agree, you got a defensive-minded head coach. He does want to be more aggressive on the offensive side of the ball. One of the reasons he brought in Pat Shurmur and Mike Shula is he wants to go deep Henry Ruggs makes a lot of sense, but the identity of the offense, James, let's talk about what a Pat Shurmur offense tends to be. Are we going to see a lot of running? Are we going to see a lot of passing? What do you ultimately expect?
Well, you've made an investment in your backfield, so you obviously think that running the football is going to be an important thing. I think one thing that stands out tremendously to me is you ranked 30th in the NFL last year on third down. I mean, that is abysmal. Now you go out and get Melvin Gordon, who can keep you on the field. Keeping drives alive for a young quarterback like Drew Lock, I think, is extremely important. And they expect a massive jump from Noah Fant. I do too. And obviously another jump from Cortland Sutton as he continues to become moving into that group of top receivers. I do think they're going to be a team that can methodically move the football down the field and then pick their spots. Also because Drew can run with the football and get first downs. I just think staying on the field offensively is going to be a big difference that we're going to see this year compared to last year. And I think you have to put up points because of the division you're in.
Ben?
Yeah, I think and the hidden part of that was what James just said. The quarterback running the football. If you go back and look at Pat Shurmur offenses, the quarterbacks do tend to run the ball a little bit. You're going to see a lot of that boot action, play action kind of stuff. The quarterback's picking up yardage with their legs. If you've got the vertical threat on the other side where you can pick your spot, get that boot action, and get the ball deep, you could be a lot more explosive. And this team wasn't that last year.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, James Palmer from NFL Network. Thank you, Solomon Wilcots. For Benjamin Albright, I'm Ryan Edwards. Thank you for watching Broncos Country Tonight.